Welcome to the Mark Moe Show Fireside Chats. This edition's guest has an amazing story that includes music, horses, and her career as an automotive detailer. Kate Novak of Details by Darla. Kate, how are you this evening?
I'm not too bad, Mark. How about yourself?
Doing great. Totally awesome. Like, we've been kicking around this idea of doing something like this for a while. So I'm super psyched that we're here in Bay 9. Is that correct?
Yep. Off of Bond Ave, 560 Bond Avenue. Details by Darla collaborated with Definitive Details.
That's right. And they're right back here. So look them up on all the socials, internet, all that kind of good stuff.
Facebook, Google.
All of it.
All of it.
And so we're going to talk about a lot here today. We will talk about music and horses and her love of cars and detailing and all kinds of other stuff. But we are going to start with music. That's how Kate and I connected. Quite frankly, kind of our whole group of friends really kind of came together through music, I feel.
Absolutely. We're all, I think, very much music fiends. Music impacts a lot of us. And that's where I think the initial breakthrough of conversation and casually building friendships with people is, whether it's a bar or a restaurant, and they got music playing, that's where the main breakthrough of the conversation starts, is always music.
Absolutely, I agree. So we're going to dive into that, but I always like to start by my guest kind of telling the audience a little bit about themselves. So this is kind of your couple of minutes here to let the audience know whatever you want them to about Kate.
Oh man. Okay, well, I got the stage. Shit, I don't really know. There's a lot about me, but I guess the simplicity of it is, I work really hard. My loyalty goes very, very far. My passion for being around cars is basically top tier, like who I am and what I've become, and family, big daddy's girl, big gearhead. Whether it's dirt cars, drag racing, show cars, Barrett Jackson. I can go to sleep with Barrett Jackson auto auction on TV, peacefully listening to the auctioneer just rambling away. I do say I'm a little bit of a different breed. I'm definitely unique, but I love people, and I'm a big diehard for music and cars, and that's
awesome. I love that. And so you mentioned music just a second ago. That's kind of how we bonded, and like I said, a lot of our friends, we kind of bonded the same way. So why don't you tell me a little bit about music, some of those influences, like some of the music that you follow and really love, and kind of how that's been an impact on your life.
So my music is very broad, actually. My first concert actually was I was 4 years old, and my very first concert was Spice Girls.
Love it.
And then my second concert, I was maybe 5 or 6, and it was Backstreet Boys. And then my third concert was Green Day and Jimmy Eat World, and I was 12.
Ooh.
So my music is very, very broad. I've seen Tim McGraw, Brantley Gilbert, I've seen ZZ Top, I've seen, EDM DJs, I've seen heavy hardcore rock from Slipknot to, The Amity Affliction, which is also a band that's really impacted lyrically, and then Fleetwood Mac. I guess that's really Fleetwood Mac and Tool are my most impactful choice of music. It's almost hard to decide which one I love more because they've been in my life my whole life. And so my music is very broad.
I love that, and I love that your two favorites are so opposite of one another in terms of type of music, genre, that sort of thing, their message in a way, but in the same sense, I feel like if you're talking Fleetwood Mac, that like Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, the lyrically they're so strong, and they do sing about really important and deep stuff, and that Stevie's so empowering, especially for that time.
Yeah.
And then versus Tool, which really tackles tough topics and yet such intricate music, precise timing. As I said, just two very different types of music, but both amazing bands.
Yeah, so Stevie Nicks is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. I am more of like the heavier, male artist type of fan. There's very few female artists that I actually follow and devote listening to, but Stevie's been in my life my whole life. Starting from as young as 3 or 4 years old. I have the most fondest memories with my dad, because at the time, my mom and my dad were legally separated within that pocket. And whenever I was with Dad, I remember just rolling in the '94 Blazer, the family truckster, jamming to Fleetwood Mac. And between her voice and the good feeling and the memories that I had in those moments of listening to her music, at that time was one of the happiest moments that I had as a young person. So that's where Fleetwood Mac really impacted me a lot. And I actually went to, she toured, God, I don't know how many years ago it was. I would say it was definitely between 8 and 10 years ago. Fleetwood Mac, the actual Fleetwood Mac, all of them, the OGs, went to Chicago. And I spent a big buck. I got 2 tickets. And I surprised my dad on Christmas to go to Fleetwood Mac to see them. And it's funny because we actually we were rushing and we were stuck in traffic. And we finally made it, just to realize that it was the wrong stadium. It was the wrong place. So then we rushed and scooted and booted to where we were supposed to go. And then when we finally got there, we were about 45 minutes to an hour late. So, I mean, who knows what songs we actually missed.
Right.
But my 2 most impactful songs are Landslide, which is definitely my mom's thing, and Go Your Own Way. That was a big song. That was at my happiest moments that I had.
And you caught those 2 live?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But there's also one that is Rhiannon.
Uh-huh.
And right when we got there, we're looking for our seating because it was a stadium. So we're rushing and we're running to try and find what gate we're in for the seats. And Rhiannon started playing, and I couldn't help but just. I'm sorry, I've got to go into this gate and go through the curtain and just stand there for a minute and process, instead of worrying about all the anxiety of being late and what we missed. And so I walked through and I opened it up, and it was like center of the stage, right at the top tier. And I remember just taking a breath and closing my eyes and being like, holy shit, like, I never would have thought in my entire life that I would have ever seen Fleetwood Mac, full-fledged, OGs, every single one of them. And then I turn around and, I'm looking for my dad, and where's my dad? And I walk through the curtain, and there he is standing in the aisle, just teary-eyed.
Love that.
And it was such a beautiful moment. It was unreal. I'll never ever forget that moment. It was one of the best shows I ever went to. And then they actually ended up a couple months later popping up with 6 to 8 more tours added onto that tour. So they ended up going round 2 to Chicago.
Oh, no way.
Oh yes, yep. And I couldn't not.
Yeah.
So I bought them again, and last time I had taken my boyfriend at the time, and it was crazy because you would think that it would be the same show, and it wasn't. They changed the order of operation. They did a couple of remakes of some songs. Obviously, Tom Petty was very near and dear to Stevie Nicks with their love and their passion that they had for each other, aside from Lindsey Buckingham.
Of course.
And it was just, I'll never forget it, you know. And now Christine McVie, she passed away about 2 years ago. And, you know, Stevie still travels. She still has her music.
Yeah.
She goes as, you know, Stevie Nicks, but now she's, I believe, trying to collaborate another Fleetwood Mac tour. And it just won't be the same.
It won't be the
as
same.
Christine McVie. It won't be.
Right.
So that was where it's like unreal that I got to experience.
I love that.
You know, the Fleetwood Mac thing, for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so now steering towards Tool.
Oh boy.
So now you're a teen.
Yeah.
And you're getting into this heavier music. You've discovered it, right?
Yeah.
And so now you discover Tool. What are your first memories? You hear this band and you're just like, holy shit.
Oh boy, brace yourself.
Yeah, do it.
So the first time I had ever actually really heard Tool, I was about 13 or 14. And my cousin, who was, you know, about 6 years older than me, she had a boyfriend, and he ended up leaving a couple of, you know, everybody loved the fucking sorry language, but I'm a pirate, LimeWire. Everybody loved LimeWire back in the day, and you would burn and make CDs all the time. And so he had like his own little made CD of just random music. And I remember listening to it one day, and the first song that I actually really picked up on and enjoyed from Tool was Vicarious. And that was my first time that I ever heard Tool. And then that was kind of where I started to dig a little bit deeper. Lyrically, they never really meant anything because I wasn't able to really break it down, but I'm also all about like the beats, the rhythm, the vibe that would put me in a certain mood. And at that time in my life, you know, I was going through a lot of phases of, you know, bullying in freshman year of high school, or you know, the midpoint of 8th grade going into freshman year of high school, and trying to fit in. And I had, you know, my first love, my first boyfriend who, you know, put me through the ringer for my first love. And I just remembered one day I was in rare form, and I put that CD in and listened to Tool and kind of expanded, and I just remembered it kind of helped me shut the brain down. Even though I wasn't able to process the lyrics and what the actual meaning was, it helped me set a certain mood that I fiend for. And so it helped me get through a lot, you know. That's where the detailing career kind of started, you know.
Okay.
If I was vulnerable or I was so severely anxious from, you know, some family stuff going on, or you know, my own issues within myself, I would go disappear in the garage, put Tool on, and Mr. Miyagi wax, you know, the family truckster. It wasn't my truck until my dad didn't give me the keys and sign the name over until I was 16 years old. But I remember at 12 or 13, my dad was like, you know, Wando, this truck ain't gonna be, you know, it ain't gonna be around. It's gonna be in a junkyard, crushed like Christine.
Right.
You know. And I'm like, no, Dad. Like, give me the chance. Watch.
Yeah.
If it's still alive and ticking at 16. I want that truck to be my first truck, and I'll show you how my loyalty and taking care of it, and that's where it started. I'd go in the garage, and even though it was just a toy hauler, it wasn't a daily driver at that time, Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off with an applicator, and blasted Tool. I'd be in that garage with the doors locked for 10, 12 hours.
And that was it. That's how it began.
That was where the start of my my intrigue and my passion and my anxiety relief started.
That's awesome.
Was around that
That's
time.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of times that music can be that influence to something that not even hobby, because hobby isn't right. It's just like your life or your passion.
Yeah.
And that maybe Tool was that gateway.
Yeah. Tool definitely impacted me a lot in different eras of life, and like I said, even whether it was lyrical or just instrumental, because Danny Carey is just unreal.
He's great. Yeah.
Maynard's voice is just mesmerizing.
You can't even compare him really to anyone.
Full-fledged entrepreneur, such a successful man, from owning his winery to making comic books to 4 different bands. He's in 4 different bands.
Right, yeah.
You got Tool, who's the main thing. You got a Perfect Circle, who's been around for several years, at least 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
And then you have Pussifer. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget the first time I heard Pussifer. And then you have the offset of Maynard with Green Jelly.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, what a talented guy.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. He's a poet. He's a winery guy. He's black belt in Taekwondo. Mike Tyson. when he went to fight that punk kid, I can't think of his name right now. One of the brothers.
Paul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Paul. Yeah.
Yep. Mike Tyson went to Maynard's Taekwondo place, and Maynard was the one that trained Tyson, and we all know that was totally rigged.
It's just a rigged
Tyson would have whipped that.
1 minute.
Paul's.
1 minute is all he would have needed.
Unreal.
Yeah, well,
we know the truth in that.
You could tell. I mean, this isn't a Mike Tyson fight podcast or anything, but being that you brought it up, I remember. I think I was at the Waiting Room, which is a local bar, and it's not a sports bar, so there's really no TVs.
It's a music bar.
It's a music bar, which is another thing we bonded. Right, music and cocktails is all we need. And so one night we're sitting there, and this guy had his iPad or something, and he had the fight on it. And it was hilarious because then I was like, "Hey, can I scooch over?" He said, "Yeah." We had like 8 people that were like all over our shoulder, and we're all watching this fight. And I think it was the first or the second round, and Mike started being Mike, and he was like going in. And you could tell he stopped, on purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was about to kill him.
Yeah, it definitely was, I think, finagled a little bit. I don't like to talk too much about my voice of opinions when it comes to that, but, Tyson's an animal.
He's an animal.
He's an animal.
Oh, yeah.
You could see where he kind of milked it after a few rounds and then gave it to the kid.
He did. But he did.
Going back to Maynard, come on. Maynard's a black belt, and that's where Tyson wanted to be trained by?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That should have been over.
Mic drop.
Right.
Dunzo.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, before we move on to a different topic, any other bands? I know we focused on 2 of your favorite bands. Is there anything maybe in the past year or couple of years, like some band that you've started listening to that you really like?
The Immediate Affliction, like I had said early on, I've grown to kind of listen to them. They're pretty kind of heavy. Not heavy like Slipknot or like super screamo, where you can't understand it. But their lyrics are they have like an upbeat rhythm and sound, but their lyrics are pretty. They're pretty dark. They're pretty deep. They're pretty depressive. That's a good band that I really enjoy listening to. That is impactful to me lyrically. When I'm in my mode of like, I'm sad, but I need something heavy, so I'll listen to like heavy music that's upbeat, but has sad, true, deep, dark lyrics to it.
Oh yeah.
Alanis Morissette. I followed her for my whole life. That's the category of what I call my mom music.
Mom music?
Yeah. I lost my mom in 2012. But when I listen to Alanis Morissette, Dixie Chicks, Matchbox 20, and Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh, yeah.
That is my category of mom music. Oh, and Cher.
Oh, you're on Cher, okay.
For her to be 70 years old and look like she does and sound like
Still
she
sound,
does,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
She's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's my mom music. So when I play that kind of music, that's where my inner gut of like karaoke comes out.
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, that's the music that makes me actually remind me of like what my mom sounded like. So those are very impactful artists. Casey and the Sunshine Band. What a plot twist of, you know, the different transitions.
Yep.
Casey and the Sunshine Band is huge. That's my dad music. I grew up listening to a lot of 70s.
Uh-huh.
Gordon Lightfoot.
Oh, God, he was great.
Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do at all with lyrically being sad aside from like the story behind that song.
Yeah.
But I remember as a little girl listening to that song, and I always said, like, the day I have to bury my dad, I'm gonna play this song at his funeral. And it used to make me cry when I was little, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But the Gordon Lightfoot is very impactful. Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah.
Jimmy friggin' Buffett. Huge. Grew up listening to him. And then, you know, you can go from that kind of category to,
Sure.
So many different bands. You know, you got Godsmack. You got Disturbed. Power 5000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, my branch of music is just unreal. There's not a single day or moment in my life where I do not have to have music.
Agreed. Yeah.
No matter what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's
You know,
that
even
important.
conversating in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
And talking with people, or showering, or cleaning, or working, or being at home, anything.
Yeah.
Music, all
Gotta have that
times.
music on.
All times. Deftones. Now that we're here, I got the music in the background.
Deftones, yeah.
You know, I'm a little ADD, squirrel brain, but Deftones. That's where I learned Deftones. It actually was on the same album that I discovered Tool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I was about to say, when
Tempest and Passenger were my first two songs that I ever learned from Deftones.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's like when I'm kind of in my darker space. Like Deftones is a band I listen to, and Alice in Chains. Those are probably like two.
Alice in Chains is awesome. I actually got to see them, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. Obviously, you know,
Not Lane.
Right, it ain't Lane, but they were touring with Korn, and they opened up for Korn, and they killed it.
Did they?
And it was crazy because the artist was not who you even would have thought, but he sounded phenomenal.
Yeah.
He did an awesome performance, but he looked like Jimi Hendrix.
Holy cow.
He was a Jimi Hendrix motherfucker.
That would have blew my mind.
And I was like, I didn't even know that. No way. You know, like, unreal. It was awesome. And that was an awesome moment. Korn was actually a really good band that I've seen a couple different times.
Yeah.
I have a trauma with bagpipes. I'm really Irish. I'm either Polack or Irish.
Yeah, love it.
And I love bagpipes.
Yeah.
I love the tap dancing.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And I went through a little trauma for a while where, you know, the sound of a bagpipe was very trauma and trigger and like a little PTSD. Simply because, you know, like I said, my family is very Irish. And so when my mom passed away, my grandpa actually had a bagpipe player come to her wake and play like Amazing Grace and stuff. And it was rough.
Yeah.
And so whenever I even heard that first breath of a bagpipe, I was dropped to the knees, ears covered, just, you know, holy shit. And I lived like that for quite a few years. And when I went to go see Korn for the first time, he has a couple of songs that involve the bagpipe that he plays. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of the name of the song, but he busted out the bagpipe. And being in that moment of that concert, that live music, and hearing that bagpipe so strong and so loud, it was beautiful. And it actually helped me cope with healing from bagpipes.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
That is awesome.
That was awesome. I wish I knew the name of the song because it was good. But
yeah, I share that, the love of bagpipes and most things Irish anyway. But it's interesting that we share kind of a similar moment, and that when my dad passed away, and I've always been kind of that person that's had to be strong for everybody else, and so like I went through like him being really sick and him passing away, and then like the funeral and everything, and just being strong and not having an emotional moment until we made our way outside and the hearse was out there, and had my friend come out and play the bagpipes, and he played Amazing Grace, and
wow, I didn't know that about you, Mark.
Yep.
That's pretty deep.
And I lost my shit. I lost my shit real hard, and at that particular time I was married and had all 4 kids there, and we all had a moment together in that moment, and I probably needed it more than I even realized.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something. So that's something we shared. So I'm glad you brought that up.
That's actually a goosebump moment. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is actually absolutely wild. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah,
Mark.
absolutely. Well,
but I get it. You know, I'm glad that you had a family there for you. I typically, I was the black sheep. I was the rock and the backbone for the family. So I was never able to grow up and show weakness because I was always there for everybody else.
Yeah.
And when all that had happened, my mom, like I said, she's put me through the ringer, but she was gnarly. She's the one that showed me therapy of music growing up. She was my concert buddy. We went to concerts all the time together. And unfortunately, she was definitely more of like that ride or die best friend figure growing up. She was rough. She struggled with a lot of things, but at the end of the day, she was an awesome human being. She was a diehard, and everybody absolutely loved her. All my friends growing up always called her mom. They would show up knocking on the door without even calling and asking me hey, I need a moment with mom. Okay. You know where she is. Go to mom. Yeah. And she was just there for all of us kids growing up. But she was, like I said, she was gnarly. She's short, spiky hair, piercings, tattoos, music. I finagled through a phase of my first sip of alcohol and smoking weed and at a young age with my mom. She was wild, but I wasn't really in any relationship or anything at the time because I was 18 when she passed away. So I was just hitting the years of adult. So what scared me the most turning 18 was, bitch, if you get in any kind of trouble at all, you ain't going to juvie. Your ass is going to jail. And I was terrified of jail. I'm a I'm a scaredy cat and a crybaby.
Not made for jail.
Yeah, no, I'm a scaredy cat and a crybaby. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm frustrated, trying to calmly explain things. And my whole family is that way. At least my mom's side was.
Yeah.
When I, the whole process of the wake and everything, all of my friends that I hadn't seen in a good year or two, because when you grow up and you hit certain phases, there are friends that go through diversities and a drama within themselves, and then you got to kind of keep them separate when you hang out.
Yeah.
But in that moment, going through the wake, all of my people that were my genuine people growing up and being there for my mom, it was wild. All of us being in the same room and everybody being cordial and everybody just reminiscing the most awesome memories of her and her presence and who she was and what she meant to everybody and the impact and the music, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
So realistically, I went into it kind of being alone, and I felt like I needed to be strong and beside myself. But seeing all of my people that weren't necessarily all collaborated together come together that day, it made it very beautiful, and it made it very healing, and it made it easy to cope and process,
Sure.
that kind of time in my life. So I'll never forget that moment.
No, I bet you won't. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, there's this other love that you have that I want to talk about before we kind of get into cars and detailing and the business and all that kind of cool stuff. You have this love of horses, which I found really super interesting. That's kind of something, once again, in my life, that my dad was a handicapper, and even as a young kid, we'd go and we'd pick up a daily racing for him, and we'd go to the track and we watch so when you mentioned horses, I got super excited. I'm like, oh, another horse lover, this is great. But you've actually owned horses.
I have, up until this past year, I have lived around horses or have horses in my life. Even not owning them, I always lived next to them. Or I was always picking up side jobs from, a young age as my first job, being a stable hand, helping scoop horse shit in a barn for, $7 an hour. I've never lived without horses in my life. My first horse, she was a little mini Shetland pony, and her name was Lightning. Back when my mom and my dad were legally separated, I was a gearhead with Fleetwood Mac, the Blazer, and dad time then with Good Moments, car shows, and then with mom, the greatest moments I had with mom was being in the barn and going to concerts, horses have been yet another huge impact in my life that has really helped me get through a lot of things in time, even if he was just a pasture pet. And I was paying all this money just to have a horse that I didn't ride or utilize or give a job. That didn't matter to me. It was worth every bit to pay for an animal at that expense, to be able to go somewhere and disappear and talk.
Yeah.
Because the greatest thing about it is you can tell them your deepest, darkest secrets, and they won't tell a fucking soul.
Right.
And they're there for you. They comfort you. They read your body language, and they pick up on that kind of stuff. My first pony was 3 or 4 years old with mom. She had a beautiful buckskin named Taz. Nope. That was my sister's dad, because that's in the times when my mom and my dad were separated, was when my mom met my sister's dad. So he had a buckskin named Bud. Taz was just a beautiful red chestnut, and that's where I started kind of like learning, being in the saddle and the simplicities of responsibility of an animal, and from there it constantly went pew. And then I lived in Dyer, Linwood for quite a few years, from I would say 5 to 9, and then that's when we moved to Hebron, Indiana, and I went to Boone Grove. Love that school. Built on a cornfield in the middle school, had a sheep farm next to it. But where we moved into the house in Hebron, he bred and raised purebred Arabians.
Ooh.
And even though they weren't mine, the property line, he had, his fencing to the point where, like, our backyard, these horses would stick their heads through and eat our grass, and I mean, these horses became my horses. I would jump the fence and love on them and appreciate them, and I've seen hundreds of babies being born, and the grossness of breeding. You're sitting at the family dinner table and you look out the patio door and it's like, oop, close the blinds, but it's nature. It is what it is.
It is right.
I know a lot. I learned a lot about horses, and then so I went without a horse for a long time, but I was always around them.
Yeah.
And then when I got my first big girl horse was actually when my mom passed away. I think both me and my dad went through a midlife crisis where within that year we just needed something. And I always dreamed about building this little barn with Dad right outside my bedroom window, and popping my head out of my bedroom window on the horse being right there. And he exceeded that dream. And boating was a big thing in my dad's life, huge. We would go to Hammond Marina and walk what we called the boardwalk and sneak into the gates and just admire these go-fasts. And that was my dad's thing.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, he went out and bought a 30-foot Miami Vice looking Baja. And here we were, for me, building this 12 by 12 barn in my backyard outside of my bedroom window.
Yeah.
And then that's when I bought my first big girl horse, and his name was Moose. And then I went through some health issues after a couple of years of owning him, and he just wasn't safe for me.
Okay.
So I ended up selling him to a 12-year-old little girl that completely made him a 180. Great.
Oh, really?
He turned into the greatest horse ever. And then I went a little while without having my own, but I worked for a family that for years and years and years. I think I started working for the Nemtudas, which is a family-owned barn, but they picked up a couple boarders. I met them and started working for them when I was 16, 17, and I worked for them for 10 plus years. So they watched me grow up, and I was very loyal to that family and all the horses that they had for years and years. And there was this one boarder horse. His name was Skip. Beautiful, beautiful, dirty buckskin. Gorgeous. Wasn't something that I fully connected to. There was other horses, but he was absolutely stunning and very gentle. And then he left the barn for a couple years because the owner had bought a house and built her own barn, and then she went through some stuff personally. Was going through a divorce, and she reached out to me one day and was like, "Hey, I will give you this horse for free, if you're open to it, because I know you just sold your last gelding, and if you're open to it, I trust you. I know you know him inside and out. I will give him to you for free if you can give him a good home." And then from there, I picked him up, and I had him for 10 years.
Wow.
And I just lost him in March last year. He was old. He was probably 25, 26.
Okay.
But he also had navicular, which is why he was expensive.
Yeah.
Normal farriers are like $100, come out for a simple trim. He was a little lot of more than that because, he had the term of like Nikes for shoes.
Right.
So he needed the foam pad and the other pad and the shoes, and every 6 weeks it was a lot. But other than that, it was cheap.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a hard worker, so. But I had him for a while, and I think with his age and stuff, his colic happened, and that was a tough moment in my life.
Sure.
But he was definitely there for me through a lot too. So
I love that.
10 years of having a horse is a pretty long time.
It's pretty good.
But this is the longest I've gone without being even around a horse.
Yeah.
I have not had a set of horse hands in a year. And it's one of my favorite smells aside from octane race fuel.
Is it? Yeah.
Horse hands. rubbing on a dirty, dusty horse.
Yeah.
Sniffing it. Favorite smell in the world.
Yeah.
Favorite smell. And then, you got that race fuel.
Yeah.
Dirt cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yep.
So, do you ever envision yourself at some point, once again, having a horse?
Right now, with all of the transitions and challenges that I've had to go through in my life recently, I would say at least the last 2 years, I would love to jump on the bandwagon of having a horse again.
Yeah.
But financially, they are expensive. They are a lot of work. And with me picking up and, starting my own business and getting my own place from, what I call the bad divorce of several years, there's I'm manic and impulsive, but in time, it would probably take a long time for me to actually have another horse again.
Yeah.
Because they do take a lot of time. But I also have places that I can go that I'm more than welcome to go to and get my set of horse hands and get my feet dirty and clean stalls for free. Like, who likes to clean horse shit for free?
Oh, right.
I love it. It's therapy. It's like a big giant cat box, but it was something I grew up doing and I love doing. Aside from listening to music and detailing cars, being around horses and scooping horse shit.
There you go.
Yep.
Now you've said the magic word, because it's the next thing, or the last main category of our discussion this evening, is your detailing and your love of cars. So you have told me off mic that you started this at a very young age. Yeah,
so that's kind of where it started, was my passion and my anxiety relief. The first time that I full-fledged Mr. Miyagi'd my 94 full-size Blazer, which I still have, by the way. I'll never get rid of her. But, it started at, about 12 years old. And, obviously the Mr. Miyagi is wax. Wax has fillers. Wax it shines it gives it a little bit of a hydrophobic feel. But I always just remembered growing up wanting to learn paint correction and wet sanding and body work, because it does go hand in hand with my initial breakthrough of forming that passion for detailing.
Yeah.
I never picked up a buffer up until 2020. Before that, I was a porter for Team Chevy here in Valpo. Fantastic, by the way. Fantastic company. Fantastic car choice. Die-hard Chevy fan.
Yeah.
But that place was wonderful to work for. I was their I was their favorite. I was the best.
Yeah.
I ran circles around all the boys, and I loved the shop life, being around the mechanics and the service riders and the parts people and all of that. It's a very family knit place to go to buy a car and work for. So that was kind of where it was like, cool, like now I get to actually detail and make money.
Right.
But we never really used the machines. It was kind of like, basically interiors and, polishing with Mr. Miyagi's. And I remembered always wanting to, I desired to want to learn paint correction.
Yeah.
And I had come across I came across Definitive Details, who is a very well-known, highly recommended detail shop. And I didn't really know a lot about them, but I kind of creeped and studied, on the business page and the Facebook page, and I had seen a few jobs that they did where it wasn't just detailing. It was paint correction. It was wet sanding. And I'm like, okay. You know, and he actually ended up being one of my biggest rivals when I was a porter, because Team Chevy used definitive details before they brought us in and transitioned us, so to speak, into detailers and not just porters.
Yeah.
But when we got behind, they sent all the used cars to definitive details. And I was a hustler. I never really interacted a whole lot with them, but I would see them occasionally come in and help get us out of the hole when us detailed porters were falling behind. And there was a time where I had set keys on my board, my week's worth of work to push through. And I remember coming in one day and my keys were completely wiped out. And it was definitive details. It wasn't anything that they did, They were just doing their job.
Right, sure.
And it was because we were slow. We were falling behind and things needed to be done for the dealership. But I remembered I was so mad and so angry one day that I walked up in that showroom and I told my general manager, like, why would you give them my keys? Like, I have nothing to work on the rest of the week. And
yeah.
He's like, well, why didn't you say something? I'm like, well, now I know I have the permission to say something, and I'm not going to get fired for it. Right. Now I'm going to continue to fight for survival.
Absolutely.
And then, I had my own little collection of words. I was waiting, preparing, premeditating, and then here comes Justin of Definitive Details, pops his head in one day on a Saturday. He's like, hey, I'm losing a guy here soon. I've seen your work. I've seen your passion. I've seen you hustle. You should come in for an interview. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I had those words, but I knew he had the skill.
Okay.
That I really wanted to learn. Because being a porter, there was a time where I'm like, I'm just a porter. Nobody's ever going to take me seriously.
Yeah.
And then that was like where it was like, oh shit, okay. Here's where you gotta just blow past it and focus on what skill you really always desired to want to learn. And so I went for my interview, and I was in like Flynn then. And one of the hardest things I ever had to do was actually quit for Team Chevy, because I'm loyal, I'm a hard worker, and I have had very many jobs because I've always worked the same job for quite a few years at a time. But that's where I learned actual buffing with a machine. And
oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. My first job was an M2 BMW. That was funny because I had worked at Bond, which was where the average in and out interior exterior details flew out of.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was when Justin was building our 30 shop for specializing in high-end paint correction and ceramic coatings.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be stuck as a barn boy, because I was like, if that's the case, then I'll just go back to being a porter. But I ended up getting picked up and collaborated and going to the 30 shop. And my first big job there was a BMW M2, and it was this beautiful nautical blue. And I remember it sat in the shop for weeks and weeks. Nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody wanted to pick up a buffer and learn how to grind on it.
Wow.
And that was the first job that I picked up on. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I just, step by step, in motion, just copied and pasted every motion. I counted the steps, I counted the seconds, and I learned it really quick. I think simply because it was just, when you desire to learn a skill and you're actually shown a little bit about it, you pick up on it and you learn it way quicker than you would something that you don't have a passion for.
I think so.
So I learned it really quickly, and 6 years later, working for Definitive Details and becoming a really, 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 I would say, talented and skilled paint correctionist. learning wet sanding and whole nine, I finally was able to develop and grow more so of being my own entity.
Sure.
Details by Darla. And that was huge because I never would have ever thought that I would have ever had the chance to learn high-end paint correction and ceramic coatings, let alone ever start my own shop, my own business.
Sure.
And doing that and having that passion since I was little. So it's very humbling for me, and it's wild.
For sure.
It is wild.
I bet.
Wild.
Now, you had, you said that first car, what was an M3?
M2.
An M2?
Yeah.
And so, like, and I'm sure you've worked on so many different types of cars.
I have such a wild resume once the classics, because that's really where my passion is.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
You can give me a Maserati or a brand new Lamborghini to paint correct on or polish, and then you can give me a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am or a '68 Challenger.
1970 Chevelle SS.
Yes, all of them.
All of it.
Bel Airs, Novas. I'm going for the old school.
Yeah, you like it. Yeah.
The old schools are where I'm at. I love those. To me, look like so much more valuable and cherishable and worthy than somebody that has a $250,000 AMG Mercedes.
Sure.
Or a Lamborghini or a Maserati. It's not, they're fun, but
right.
It's not where my passion is.
That's interesting because my dad, he did body work and stuff like that. And so we would have talks about cars a lot. And, he loved, your Lamborghinis and your Ferraris and your Porsche and all of that. But he always thought, and I kind of agree, that cars in the 60s and 70s just had a lot more character.
Yeah. Yep. I've had customers come in and with the old schools, right? Oh, see these headlights, see these taillights, irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And I believe it.
Yeah.
Because, I have a 94 Blazer. It isn't like super duper old school, but man, once it hit 25, 30 years old, it's officially a classic.
It is a classic,
and,
you're right.
And I know how hard it is to find parts for that. And here you are working on a 56 Chevy square body, or a 1930s Allard. Nobody even knows what an Allard is. I didn't even know what an Allard was, but there's only 6 of them in the whole wide world, and I've done 2 of them under my belt.
No way.
Yep. They were in a museum and everything, and that was probably one of my holy shits on my resume.
That's
for sure.
That's amazing.
The rarity, when you meet these people and you impress them with a job, at that point, like, they're collectors. They're going to feed you. They're going to be loyal to you because they trust me in my work. They know I'm passionate. They know I'm meticulous. And that's where my weakness comes out, because it makes me slow. But
yeah, does it? Yeah.
A little bit.
Have you worked on vehicles that have been neglected? So, like, and what I mean by that is,
I love polishing turds.
Do you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you use all these TV shows that they're on there, and like they rescue this old car, but like the frame's still decent enough where they're like, we can do something with
Oxidation, it's dull, it's dingy, it's contaminated and bug poop and bird shit etching, and it's dull, it's dry, it's ashy. Those are my favorite
to work on.
Actually, I get full-fledged satisfaction from jobs like that. We actually had a 1972 Volkswagen bus.
Okay.
Straight up hippie.
Yeah.
Woodstock. In here, and we did a full window tint job on it, and that's really all it came in for, was window tint. But it was so dull and it was so oxidized, and it was a weekend job. Wasn't really anything to do with me. But that was where my passion and impulse kind of kicked in, and it was for a friend of ours. And I kept staring at it, and I'm like, man, this thing's been here for 2 days. I really want to polish this thing to see the result of it. And then finally I busted out the polisher one day while I was still working, getting the tint done.
Yeah.
And I looked at my business partner, Justin Anderson, Definitive Details, and I looked at him and I'm like, don't judge me, I can't help it. And as soon as I put that buffer and that polisher to that paint, and the result, I couldn't stop. I didn't stop.
You didn't stop?
I spent the whole day and I kept going because it was a friend of ours.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop. And it was so dull and so oxidized. But the transformation was really where it's at. And I love that. People bring in cars that are so scratched and so torn up.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know if I need a new paint job, and it might need to be repainted. If I didn't think that I could fix this and correct this, I would tell you I'm incapable.
Sure.
I call myself the paint doctor.
Uh-huh.
Give me a shot and let me see what I can do, and you will be completely wow factored. Decent paint jobs nowadays, decent ones. Not out of a garage, not out of a little mom and pop, which honestly mom and pop body shops are actually the best.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful and mindful of where you get body work and paint done. But a really good paint job, it's 10, 15 grand. And I've done Grand Nationals, and I did a 80. What was it? I think it was an 88 Monte Carlo Aero Coupe.
Oh, dude.
So it wasn't the back square window, it was an Aero Coupe back window, and those are really rare. They're hard to find.
Yeah.
And this thing was one of my biggest holy shit factors.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that give me the most satisfaction, are the ones that people doubt don't have the potential of turning into beauty. And I don't like making people cry, but there's nothing better than when a customer really challenges me to that kind of a job, and I really work hard at it.
Yeah.
Even with my own blood, sweat, and tears doing it, might drive myself insane while doing it, but at the end of it all, it reminds me of why I love doing what I do. And the passion that I have in it is the result of it at the end of it, and the customer satisfaction.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've seen you work, so I've seen you put that into your vehicles as you have a beautiful truck sitting in.
Yeah, it's a beautiful truck.
I like it.
I didn't get to do that one. That's a Chevy. Chevy paint's terrible, especially black.
Is it?
It's one of the most hardest, most difficult paints because it's so soft.
Yeah.
And it's plain. It's base coat. There's not really a lot of Chevy paint that has a pretty flake or pearl in it. But my next big job is, I think it's I don't even know realistically what it is called, but it's definitely like I would say a 50s Chevrolet hot rod.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed you have a hot rod outside.
Yep. That's the next big culprit that I've been starting on. Last week I had I would say a 75, 76 C10 square body Chevy.
Ooh.
Beautiful, beautiful truck.
Yeah.
Beautiful truck. The week before that, I had a 1960 F100 Ford that was so dull and so torn up, with sand scratches that weren't finished and hairlines, and it sat for 10 years. It was like a blacky, root beery kind of color.
Okay.
And through the process of going through the paint correction that truck went through, it transitioned 3 different colors. Next thing you know, it's done, it's finished, it's jeweled out, ready for shows, and it was purple as purple can be. The flake popped. It completely transitioned different colors, and I love doing these types of jobs, especially when these guys are car enthusiasts. They take them to shows.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than when they go to a show and they bring home a trophy.
Right. Like you had something to do with that. Yeah, hell yeah.
100%.
That's amazing. Now, you've mentioned this a few times. So for people that maybe don't know a lot about detailing, you've mentioned the term color correction before.
Yeah.
So why don't you explain this to the listeners what that actually means?
So, I mean, there's different levels of what we call, paint correction. There's paint enhancement, and then there's, paint correction. Paint enhancement is you have a dull vehicle and you want to enhance the paint. You want to bring it to life. You want to make it shiny. You want to make it look alive again. You're enhancing the color of paint by bringing the shine out, bringing its livelihood back. Paint correction can go in different levels, different steps. So you have like your 3-step, snarly as can be paint correction, and I'm talking Where's Waldo.
Right.
You bring in a vehicle that is severely scratched, highly swirled, holograms, or even dull,
Sure.
Bad body work. I couldn't tell you how many cars have come in from a paint shop that was just painted and they spent thousands of dollars and it's just straight pooched.
It's just, yeah.
It's pooched, which is where my next goal in the next 5 years is, I kind of learned ass backwards. I learned how to paint correct. I learned how to wet sand. Now I need to learn how to paint. Because I'm tired of fixing
other
the paint.
people's,
and then,
right.
If these people are making money off of doing the paint and they're taking 8 months to paint it, give me a paint gun and a paint booth because I know all the simplicities of it and watch me go.
Yeah.
So that's where my next growth in my career is definitely going to be. You have your gnarly 3-step paint correction. You have your heavy cut, and then you have your mid cut, and then you have your jeweling polish, and then you have your double corrective, which is a little bit of paint correction, and then your final polish. But it just depends on what your paint looks like and how botched it is and where you want to go with it. And I've got you.
That's awesome.
Nothing really ever really scares me.
Which is amazing because it's like you read my mind. My final question was going to be, has there ever been a vehicle that you've worked on where it pulls into your shop and you were like nervous to work on?
Every classic that comes into my shop is absolutely nerve-wracking. Like I said, those to me look way more sentimental. They look more valuable.
Yeah.
They are irreplaceable, as the customers would say. And I mean, nobody is fully perfect. There are other people in the world that have the same skill, and I mean, anybody can learn it. Anybody can do it. And things do happen. You do burn things. I have the quote, you don't learn until you burn.
Yeah.
But I mean, it varies. But when these classics come in, you don't know the paint history. You don't know the actual logistics of what is bondoed, how much clear coat there is. Granted, even with the paint gauge, you're still kind of gambling, and they're terrifying. Every classic car that comes in is absolutely terrifying. Especially the big wet sand jobs, like full-fledged wet sanding. Terrifying. I will have a classic car that comes in that needs to be wet sanded before going through a 3-step paint correction.
Right.
And I will circle that thing for 4 or 5 hours like a shark, just walking in circles, staring at the paint, twitching my fingers. I'm so scared. I don't want to mess it up. I'm so nervous. I don't know what I'm getting into. And then once I pick up the machine or I pick up that block and I do some test spots and I get into it, then that's when it's like, okay, holy shit. Now I got a little taste of what this car needs and the extent of where I need to take it for that customer's satisfaction without burning it, without harming the paint, without removing too much clear coat. And then that's when that confidence and that ego gets boosted.
Sure.
And then once I get into it, poof, she's gone.
Yep, that's awesome. Kate, this was awesome. This was a great conversation, and I want to give you a chance to any shout outs, anybody that might be out there, might be listening, that you want to say hey to.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I'm Details by Darla. I specialize in your high-end paint corrections, ceramic coatings, high-end ceramic coatings, and then I collaborate, my original stomping grounds, Definitive Details. So we are all in one unison, but we are each individual. We offer window tint, paint protective film, vinyl wrapping, chrome deletes, and then your basic everyday, really good, deep, clean interior, exterior details. 560 Bond Avenue here in, Valparaiso. Look us up, contact us, reach us. If you need your car cleaned really good, or, you want to add some accents, taillight tint your windows, color change. You want to transition your car into a show car, or you bought a brand new car that looks botched from porters taking crazy rags to things. We do it all, and we're very passionate here about what we do, and that's about all I got, Mark.
That's
Sorry
awesome.
for rambling.
No, I love it. No, rambling, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting in on this edition of the Mark Moe Show Fireside Chats. This edition of Fireside Chats will come out the last weekend of June. I can't believe this year is about half over. Just absolutely insane.
Oh, I know. There's going to be a lot of editing, I'm sure.
I do very little. I like these things to be genuine and fun. So, and that's exactly what this was. So, thank you so much again for sitting down and talking with me. And thank you guys for listening to Fireside Chats, whether it's Fireside Chats, the Mark Moe Show, or our gaming channel 8M. Definitely check us out on YouTube, all podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, smooch, do whatever you want. I appreciate each and every one of you. And Kate, thanks again. And
thanks so much, Mark, especially giving me the opportunity.
Absolutely.
I've waited a whole year knowing what you did with your podcast. I couldn't wait for my time to shine, so to speak. Just to, get it out there.
Yeah, no, and I love it. I'm glad we finally got to sit down. And thank you all again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.